Ethan was not the kind of man who expected adventures. He worked quietly on a small space station near a neutral star system. His days were full of routine. He checked engines, monitored sensors, and occasionally helped scientists with their experiments. He liked the calm life. He liked knowing what each day would bring. One morning, a message arrived that changed everything. It was not like the usual work alerts or maintenance warnings. It was from the Galactic Alliance, sealed with a symbol he had never seen before. The message ordered him to report to the Alliance headquarters immediately. Ethan frowned. He did not even know why they would call him. He had never done anything heroic or important. He was just a technician. Still, he obeyed. He prepared his small shuttle and left the station. The journey was long, but he had time to think. What could this be about? He imagined meetings with officers, maybe a promotion, or a special project. He did not imagine what actually awaited him. When Ethan arrived, the Alliance officials were waiting. Their uniforms were decorated with gold lines and silver badges. They looked serious. One of them, a woman named Karen, spoke first. "Ethan, you have been chosen," she said. "Chosen? For a very important mission." Ethan blinked. "Chosen? For what mission?" Karen hesitated. "You are to marry the princess of the Velinar Empire." Ethan laughed nervously. "Wait. What? Marry? That must be a mistake. I'm just a technician. I don't know anyone from any empire. This is impossible." "It is not a mistake," Karen said firmly. "The Velinar are demanding a marriage bond. They say it is necessary for peace. You have been selected because your genetic pattern matches a prophecy from centuries ago. You have no choice." Ethan felt his stomach drop. "No choice? I can't just be forced to marry someone I don't even know." Karen shook her head. "If you refuse, the Alliance fears war. The Velinar are powerful. Their fleet could destroy billions. You are the only one who can prevent this." Ethan stayed silent. He could not believe what he was hearing. His life, quiet and ordinary, had just changed forever. A shuttle took him to the Velinar flagship. As it approached, Ethan noticed the ship was unlike any he had ever seen. It gleamed black like liquid metal. The surface shimmered, almost alive, with strange patterns moving across it. He felt a strange chill as he stepped inside. The hallways of the ship were wide, smooth, and lit with soft silver light. No one spoke. Guards stood silently at every corner. At the end of the main hall, a door opened. And then he saw her, Princess Lyra. She was tall, taller than most humans. Her skin was pale silver and shimmered faintly, like starlight. Her hair flowed like liquid silver down her back. Her eyes were large and bright, shifting colors from blue to violet to green. People called her cursed. Anyone who got close to her faced danger, bad luck, or even death. But Ethan could not feel fear. He only felt curiosity and something like sadness. Lyra looked at him. Her expression was calm but unreadable. "You are the one they sent," she said softly. Her voice was like a soft melody, but it carried weight. Ethan swallowed. I'm Ethan. I don't know why I am here." "You are here because of destiny," Lyra said. "I do not know if that is good or bad. We will see." Ethan tried to take in the moment. He had expected a cold, dangerous alien. Instead, he saw someone who looked lonely, someone who might need a friend, or at least someone who did not fear her. The marriage ritual began immediately. Lyra and Ethan were guided into a circular room. Silver lights danced across the walls. Strange symbols appeared on the floor. Guards stood outside but did not speak. A low hum filled the room. Ethan felt nervous. He did not know what to do. Then Lyra took his hand. Her touch was gentle, not cold. A strange energy flowed through him. The room seemed to pulse with light. Ethan could feel a bond forming, a connection he could not understand. The ritual ended with a soft flash. Lyra looked at him, eyes wide. "The curse. It has changed," she whispered. Ethan did not know what she meant. You are alive," she said, almost to herself. "No one else survives this ritual like you do." Ethan tried to speak. I think I'm okay. But what does that mean?" Lyra shook her head. "I do not know. But maybe you are different." That night, Ethan was led to his quarters. They were simple but comfortable, with a view of the stars through a wide window. He sat and thought about everything. He was scared, but also strangely calm. He had not expected this life, but he felt that maybe, somehow, he could survive it. The next day, he met the Velinar Council. The council members were tall, pale, and serious. They asked him many questions: how he felt, what he knew, if he understood the importance of the bond. Ethan answered honestly. He did not lie. Lyra watched silently. When the council left, she finally spoke to him. "You are not afraid," she said. "Most people tremble in my presence. They see only the curse. You see something else." Ethan smiled faintly. "I see someone who is scared and alone. Maybe that is all we ever see in anyone." Lyra tilted her head. "Perhaps. You may be the first human to survive the curse without fear. That is interesting." Days passed. Ethan learned about the Velinar culture. They prized strength, silence, and beauty. Lyra had been trained to be perfect, to control everything. People feared her, but she had never been free. Ethan tried to talk to her every day. Slowly, she began to respond. She would ask questions about Earth, about humans, about his quiet life on a small station. Ethan told her simple stories. She listened, sometimes smiling. Sometimes her eyes shone with something like hope. Strange things started happening around Ethan. Machines would start working better when he approached. Energy fields seemed to calm. Sometimes, when he slept, he had visions of past battles, distant planets, and a darkness that seemed to follow Lyra. Lyra noticed these changes. She said, "You are unusual. The curse does not touch you like it touches others. Perhaps that is why I feel safe with you." Ethan shook his head. "I do not know about safe, but I can try to understand, and I will not leave you alone." She looked at him for a long time. Then she nodded slightly. "Perhaps that is enough for now." But not everyone was pleased. Rival clans in the galaxy saw Ethan's presence as dangerous. If the human changed Lyra, it could upset centuries of power. Assassins were already planning attacks. Ethan had to stay careful. The bond between him and Lyra grew stronger. They began to trust each other. Lyra learned to laugh quietly, and Ethan learned to read the subtle emotions in her eyes. They were very different, but somehow they fit together. Ethan realized something. He had not come to the Velinar expecting friendship or love. He had come expecting fear, danger, and perhaps death. But now he understood that what he felt was something else, something deeper, and Lyra, for the first time in her long life, was beginning to feel the same way. The curse still lingered, a shadow behind every smile and every word. But together, they might face it. They might even change it. And for the first time, the universe did not seem so frightening. Ethan lay in his quarters that night, looking at the stars. He thought about the strange path that had led him here. He thought about the shimmering silver princess who was not as dangerous as everyone said. He thought about the bond forming between them, stronger than he could understand. For the first time, he felt like he belonged. And far across the galaxy, unseen by human eyes, the stars themselves seemed to shift slightly, as if acknowledging a new story beginning. Ethan had spent a few days on the Velinar flagship, and every moment felt strange and new. He was no longer just a visitor. He was part of the ship's life, part of the princess's world. Yet, even with the bond forming between him and Lyra, The feeling of being watched and tested never left him. He woke early one morning to find Lyra standing by the window, her silver hair catching the light of the distant sun. She looked at him quietly. "You sleep well?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said. "Better than I thought I would." Lyra's eyes flickered with a mix of surprise and curiosity. "Most humans do not adapt here easily. Your presence, it does not disturb the ship. It is unusual." "Saston," Ethan shrugged. "I guess I'm lucky. Or maybe the ship likes me." She smiled faintly. "Or maybe it knows you are part of something greater. Something that even I do not fully understand." That morning, Ethan was escorted to the ship's archive chamber. It was enormous, shaped like a dome, with walls of translucent crystal that stored the history of the Velinar. The lights pulsed as if the crystals themselves were alive. Ethan had never seen technology like this. "This is where we keep the memory of our people," Lyra said. "Everything that has happened, every decision, every battle, every success and failure, is stored here. And here is where I can show you the truth about the curse." Ethan followed her carefully, not touching anything. He felt like he was walking into a temple of knowledge. Lyra waved her hand, and images appeared in the air. They showed battles of hundreds of ships, planets burning, and thousands of soldiers falling. Then the images shifted to a family of silver-skinned Velinar. A woman placed a glowing mark on her newborn daughter. The baby's eyes shone with strange colors. "That baby is me," Lyra said softly. "The mark is the curse. My mother tried to bind the future of our people to a powerful cosmic entity. She wanted control, but the entity, it did not like being bound. The curse was meant to punish, to bring fear and control. It followed me everywhere." Ethan watched the images. He could see the fear, the loneliness, and the expectation of perfection placed on Lyra. He understood why she seemed calm, but also distant. "You never asked for this," he said gently. "No one would. And yet, you survived. You are still standing. That must mean something." Lyra looked at him, and for the first time, her eyes were not full of caution. They were full of something fragile, something human. "Maybe it does," she whispered. Over the next few days, Ethan learned more about the Velinar curse. It was not a simple spell or illness. It was a complex energy tied to the princess, her family, and the very structure of Velinar society. People feared her because the curse could trigger accidents, illness, or worse. Some even said the curse made ships malfunction, or weapons explode when she was near. But Ethan never experienced harm. He felt only a strange warmth when he was near her. Lyra noticed this. "You do not react to the curse," she said one evening. "No one has ever survived this without pain or fear. Perhaps the prophecy is true. Perhaps you are different." Ethan laughed softly. "Different is one word for it. I just try not to panic." They spent hours together in the archive chamber, watching history unfold. Ethan saw wars between clans, betrayals, and the attempts to use Lyra as a weapon. He realized how much pressure she had lived under, yet she did not complain. She absorbed the burden silently. One night, Ethan had a strange dream. He saw the universe in colors he could not name, swirling around Lyra. Dark shapes tried to reach her, but Ethan ran to her side. His hands glowed with light, and the darkness could not touch them. He woke up with a start, realizing that something had changed. When he found Lyra the next morning, he told her about the dream. "The curse reacts to your presence," she said slowly. "I do not understand it fully. But you are different. You bring balance instead of chaos. That has never happened before." Ethan felt both fear and pride. "So, I'm part of the curse now?" Lyra shook her head. "Not part. Something new. Something alive." Their growing bond did not go unnoticed. The Velinar Council observed them carefully. Many were suspicious of Ethan. Some whispered that humans were unpredictable, that Ethan could become a threat to the Empire. Others, however, began to see the truth. He was not afraid of Lyra. He listened, he learned, and he stayed calm. That was something none of the Velinar nobles could do, yet danger was never far away. Rival clans saw Ethan as a threat to their plans. If Lyra became close to a human, it could change the destiny of the Velinar Empire. Assassins planned attacks in secret. Guards moved silently around Ethan and Lyra, protecting them without revealing the extent of the danger. One evening, while they were in a quiet chamber looking at the stars, Lyra spoke. "Do you feel the danger?" Ethan nodded. "Yes. But I do not feel afraid. Not like everyone else seems to. Maybe because we are together." Lyra studied him for a long time. "Most people run from the curse. They think only fear can protect them. But you face it with me. That is new. That is comforting." Days later, the danger became real. A warning reached the ship. Assassins were moving toward them, planning to attack during the night. The council decided to take no chances. They increased security and moved Ethan and Lyra to a secure chamber deep inside the flagship. Ethan felt a mixture of fear and excitement. He had never been in a battle, but somehow he felt ready to face it. Lyra's presence made him feel strong. He realized that he trusted her completely, and she trusted him in return. The night was quiet at first. Then, alarms rang out. Red lights flashed. Shadows moved along the corridors. Assassins had infiltrated the ship. Ethan stayed close to Lyra. "We need to stay together," he said. She nodded. "Yes." Together, the first wave of attackers entered the chamber. Guards fought, but they were outnumbered. Ethan felt a strange energy rise in him. The same energy he had seen in his dreams. His hands glowed softly, and a protective shield formed around them. The attackers could not touch them. Lyra looked at him with wide eyes. How are you doing this?" Ethan shook his head. "I don't know. It just happened." The battle continued, but Ethan and Lyra remained unharmed. Their bond had created a new kind of energy, something no Velinar had ever seen. It was both frightening and beautiful. After the fight, the council came to them. They were amazed. "No human has ever done this," one of them said. "The prophecy. It may be true. You are not just surviving. You are changing the fate of our people." Ethan looked at Lyra. She smiled, a small, genuine smile. For the first time, she did not look like a princess carrying the weight of the universe. She looked like someone who could be happy. "You saved me," she said softly. Ethan shook his head. "No, we saved each other." Over the next few days, Ethan and Lyra continued to learn about the curse and the history of her people. The bond between them grew stronger. They laughed quietly together, shared small secrets, and planned ways to protect the ship from future attacks. Ethan realized that he had entered a world full of danger, politics, and ancient powers. But he also realized that with Lyra, he could face anything. She was not just the cursed princess. She was someone who could fight, who could laugh, who could care, and he had become part of her world in a way no one else could. At night, they would stand by the windows, looking at the stars. Lyra would ask him about Earth, about humans, about the simple things he missed. Ethan would answer honestly, and for a moment, they were just two people. Not a princess and a technician, not a prophecy and a curse. Just two hearts, learning to trust each other in a vast, dangerous galaxy. And far across space, unseen by anyone, forces began to stir. Ancient powers that had watched Lyra for centuries now noticed Ethan. They were curious, and some were angry, but Ethan and Lyra did not know this yet. They only knew that their bond was changing something fundamental, something that could shape the fate of an entire empire. For now, they had each other. And that was enough to face the unknown. After the attack, the ship was quieter than usual. The alarms had stopped, and the corridors were still. But Ethan and Lyra could feel tension in the air. The council had grown more serious, and whispers among the guards made it clear that not everyone trusted the human who had survived the curse. Ethan spent the morning in his quarters, thinking about everything that had happened. He was not afraid of Lyra anymore. He felt something stronger than fear. He felt responsibility. And he felt connection. The bond between them was growing. And he could feel it in subtle ways. The lights on the ship sometimes pulsed when he was near her, and machines seemed to respond to his presence. Lyra entered quietly. She looked at him with a small smile. "You are thinking too much," she said softly. "I am," Ethan admitted. "I keep wondering why I can survive what no one else can. Why I am here. Why the curse does not touch me like it touches others." Lyra sat beside him. "Perhaps it is not about you being strong or special. Perhaps it is about trust. You do not fear me. You do not run. And that is rare." Ethan nodded. "Then we need to learn more. I need to understand what this curse really is, so we can protect ourselves. And maybe help others too." Lyra's eyes softened. "You are patient. That is why I like you." She looked away quickly, as if embarrassed to admit it. Later that day, Lyra led Ethan to a chamber he had never entered before. It was deep inside the ship, dimly lit, and filled with crystals that glowed softly. In the center of the room was a platform. Lyra gestured for him to stand on it. "This is the memory vault," she explained. "It stores not just the history of my people, but the energy of the curse itself. You can see what has happened, and perhaps understand why the prophecy chose you." Ethan stepped forward carefully. The platform pulsed under his feet. He felt a strange warmth move through him. Holographic images appeared in the air, showing scenes of the past. He saw Lyra as a child, trained to perfection. He saw battles, betrayals, and rituals that had shaped the Velenar Empire. He saw her mother placing the mark of the curse on her. "This was done to control me," Lyra said softly. "To bind my life to the Empire, to the prophecy, and to the cosmic entity. I never wanted this. I wanted freedom." Ethan watched the images, feeling a mix of fear and wonder. He could see why Lyra had been distant, why she had carried herself with such care, but he also saw moments of kindness, small joys, and glimpses of hope. "You are brave," he said. "You survived everything. And now, we can face it together." 1WWs. I'm 1WWs. 1WWWs. 1WWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWWW repeated. As they left the vault, the ship's warning system flashed again. The Council had detected another threat, more serious than the last. A rival clan had mobilized a fleet to intercept them. This time, it was not just assassins. It was warships, armed and ready to destroy anything in their path. Ethan and Lyra were escorted to the command bridge. The viewports showed the enemy ships approaching fast. The fleet of the Velinar was ready, but the numbers were against them. "We will defend ourselves," Lyra said calmly. "But we must be careful. The enemy knows the prophecy. They want to remove the human before the bond strengthens." Ethan nodded. "Then we fight together. We survive together." The battle began with a roar of engines and the flash of weapons. Ethan felt fear at first, but then he remembered the bond. He could feel Lyra beside him, steady and strong. He could feel the energy between them, the same energy that had protected them during the first attack. He reached out, and a shield formed around the command bridge. Energy pulsed softly, expanding outward. Enemy weapons struck, but the shield held. Lyra's eyes widened. "You are doing it again," she whispered. "I don't know how," Ethan admitted. "It just happens." As the battle raged outside, Lyra coordinated the fleet. She moved ships, directed attacks, and protected civilians. Ethan stayed by her side, letting the energy flow. They were a team, human and alien, working together in a way no one had ever seen. The enemy fleet tried to break through, but every time they fired, Ethan's shield responded. The energy he and Lyra shared seemed to grow stronger with every attack. Velinar ships that had been damaged healed faster, as if the bond was spreading life through the fleet. Hours passed. The enemy began to retreat. Ethan and Lyra had not only survived, but they had turned the tide of the battle. The council was stunned. This has never happened before, one of them said. The prophecy. Perhaps it is true. Asked. Perhaps it is true. After the battle, Ethan and Lyra went to a quiet part of the ship. They were exhausted, but they needed to talk. You were amazing, Lyra said softly. You did not fear the curse, and you protected everyone, even me. Ethan smiled faintly. I did not do it alone. We did it together. They sat in silence for a while, watching the stars. The galaxy was calm again, but Ethan could feel the tension in the air. The enemy would not give up. The prophecy was still a threat, but for now, they were safe. Over the next few days, Ethan continued to learn about the curse. He practiced controlling the energy that flowed from him, learning to focus it. Lyra guided him, teaching him to understand the connection between their bond and the power it created. They also spent time talking about simple things. Lyra asked about Earth, about life before the space station, about food, music, and friendship. Ethan told her stories of quiet nights under the stars, of the wind on a calm planet, and of laughter with people he cared about. Lyra listened, fascinated. One evening, she said, I never thought I would know a human this way. You make me feel normal, safe, like I can be more than just a princess, more than just a weapon of prophecy. Ethan reached for her hand. You are more than that. You always were. You just needed someone to see it. Lyra's eyes softened. And you are that someone. But their peace did not last. Reports came from the fleet. A cosmic entity, older than the Velinar Empire itself, was stirring. It had sensed the change in the curse, and it was curious. Some said it was angry, others said it was testing them. The council called an emergency meeting. The bond between the human and the princess has altered the curse, one advisor said. It is no longer predictable. The entity may react in ways we cannot control. Ethan and Lyra looked at each other. The danger had grown beyond ships and clans. Now it was something far older. Something that had watched the galaxy for centuries. We face it together, Ethan said quietly. Lyra nodded. Together, they spent the next few days preparing. Ethan learned more about the Velinar ships, their weapons, and their strategies. He trained with the energy bond, learning to channel it not just defensively, but also to aid the fleet. Lyra guided him, her calm presence steadying him. The day the entity arrived, the sky outside the flagship shifted. Colors no human could name spread across space. Waves of energy pulsed through the ship. Ethan and Lyra felt it immediately, the weight of something older than time itself pressing on them. The entity communicated not with words, but with feelings and visions. It showed destruction, death, and the end of empires. It asked why the curse had changed, why a human could survive it, and why Lyra's bond with Ethan was so strong. Ethan held her hand. We are together, he said firmly. We are not afraid. The entity seemed to pause. The energy between Ethan and Lyra pulsed brightly, stronger than before. It was not just a shield. It was life, hope, and courage. All at once, the cosmic presence withdrew, for now. But the message was clear. Their bond had changed the galaxy, and it would not go unnoticed. Ethan and Lyra looked at each other. We are stronger together, Lyra whispered. Yes, Ethan agreed. And no one can take that from us. As they returned to the fleet, their connection had grown even deeper. They were no longer just human and alien. They were partners, bound by something far greater than prophecy or curse. Together, they could face enemies, ancient powers, and the unknown future. And far across the galaxy, watchers began to take notice. The human and the cursed princess were no longer ordinary. They were a force that could change the fate of the stars. For now, Ethan and Lyra had each other, and that was enough to face whatever came next.